Good morning and welcome to today's live show. Just taking a look at TLT as we just did get probably some of the strangest data I've ever seen. If you want to go check that out with me for a split second here, just notice the non-farm payrolls. Yeah, unemployment. Okay. Like that's fine, coming in even or something like that. That's fine, but non-farm payrolls, forecast 180, previous 223, consensus 113. 12,000. That is freaking weird. Something's off about that in some way, or maybe it's not off and we're actually getting a real piece of data for once in our life. We'll have to find out. Today, as we move forward, you need those daily expected moves, so I will put those up on your screen just for a little bit here. Notice that the 30-minute rejected, but looks like it might be trying to turn back around. What do we always say could happen in this type of area is some kind of retest. Some kind of retest would make sense. You'll notice where that 5 is. We'll see where that opens up today. It might come down a little bit, but we could get a reaction to the 5. We could react all the way up to our little sell zone, right? If this took us by surprise, which, well, this didn't take us by surprise, right? We put it in our video 2 nights ago. We pretty much said, like, yeah, this is how the crash is going to happen tomorrow, right? High probability of a crash tomorrow was the video that we put out a couple nights ago. Just calling it how we see it. But we do get these reactions, and we saw something dramatic. So this took a lot of people off guard. This probably took even the market maker off guard a little bit. So if this took the wrong people off guard, well, then those people would say, hey, shoot these stocks higher so we can get out of some positions. That actually might happen. Now, one thing to acknowledge here is volatility turning down here. 30-minute really close to the center line. If that whips back around, just watch out because we're already seeing this break out. Now, one thing to notice here about volatility was the structure really getting to that cup, making a big handle, which could be considered another cup because it's so large. And then what if we do something like that? This is something that we're going to pay very close attention to. This would be winding up again. If we can hold above 20 and see this 2-hour get by the center line and curl up again, this could be winding up for one of the most dramatic moves in volatility that we've seen in a long time. We are starting to get, sorry about that, but we're starting to get more and more news about banks potentially going to fail. Banks that are really, really underwater, banks that have too much debt on their books, banks that are really struggling. I wonder if it's even due to the derivatives market in some way. But for the most part, what we want to pay attention to are those daily expected moves right now. You can see you have a massive range for the day, which when we get a massive range, we've noticed that we see a lot of gap ups, right? We see a gap up and then we'll kind of just, trail in a direction or trail in a direction all day. So we'll see if volatility actually kicks in here. But you see volatility subsiding. So this could be one of those times where we gap up and we just slowly fade it. We gap up, we sit in the area, right? We've seen that a few times. You gap up, you just sit up here. You gap up, you just sit up here. So that's something we'll pay attention to. But the daily expected moves for the day, 577.49 to the upside. We do have 559.79 to the downside. If we do end up down in this area, watch because we could get some kind of bounce to create structure, okay? If this is going to turn down early in the day, that's just something that I'd be paying attention to. As far as it goes for the SPY, there's your ranges. Make sure to pause the video now if you need those ranges real quick, right? Or join the Patreon, right? We did put these out last night. We put out the Friday daily expected moves, and you got updated monthly expected moves. Okay, so once we go over to the Qs, you're just going to notice that the signal we were looking for already confirmed here. We've confirmed on a 4. So if we're going to get some kind of rip to the upside, we need something to save this market at this point, because this is telling you right now it's at least going to correct. If not, there's plenty of bad reasons once that black swan does come out. If it comes out now versus if it comes out in about 6 months, either way, it's going to be bad. So we'll see if this ends up being a corrective move or not. For the most part, we just need some daily expected moves for the day. We need 494.06 to the upside and 473.64 to the downside. Remember this about the Qs. We said, pay attention to the pink line. Pink line, bad things. Pink line, bad things. Pink line, bad things, and bad things. This is why we were talking about this. This is something that we can really utilize if you want the annual expected move starting in 2025. If the world doesn't go to crap, I am going to be posting the annual expected moves to Patreon. All right. annual expected moves to Patreon. So you got to be on there to get that. We will make that for the main indices. I don't want to read into it too much with Apple or Nvidia or something like that. I think we'll just look into doing that for the Qs and the SPY and the DIA. So let's pay attention to 30-minute charts. I have to. My old man's already whining at me, so I got to make sure he can go upstairs because I don't want an accident downstairs. So give me 2 minutes, guys, and I will be right back. All right. Sorry, but not sorry about making a YouTube video last night, but the important night for you to be watching that YouTube was actually 2 nights ago, right? We pretty much called this to a T. Looks very nice. One thing I would just say is, sorry, not sorry, is because I had a good time. I've never, you know, I'm a first-time dad, so I've never taken my daughter trick-or-treating, and it was just funny. She enjoyed it the whole time, so thank you guys for the well wishes. And good morning. Don't save it, I'm shorting. Join the Patreon. Love it. Maurice, yeah, awesome. Thank you for joining the Patreon. There's a bunch of people in there who are really benefiting from it, and it's hard for me to, you know, get to messages there. So, I mean, you know, I do have limited time, so I tried to put up like a little chat for you guys if you guys want to chat back and forth. But the best place to reach me if you have a little question or something about a range or anything like that is going to be live video. Live video is where I'm really focused on people asking questions and getting those answers. Morning, Rudy. Loma, welcome. Mark, hi. I heard it was Boeing and the hurricane. Boeing. I have an argument for Boeing here. And the argument for Boeing is, I know this is going to be weird, but if Boeing is going to be a great company again, they're going to maybe need World War III. I'm just being genuine about that, because this company has gotten bad things to have bad things breaking down. I actually know some of the people who previously were higher ups at Boeing, like some higher up positions, people making, you know, bonuses worth, you know, probably $300,000 to $500,000 a year in just bonuses. So I think I can take them into consideration here and say, when they were there, they literally said there were people that would come in, they would audit their stuff, they would see, like, audit their engineers, their repairs, their products, their pieces, and they literally were like, there is a problem with every single piece on here one year. They were just like, there is a problem with every single plane. There's something wrong with it at this point. And I'm just like, so if Boeing's got a signal here for reversal, I think this might be your some kind of war thing going on for Boeing to actually play this out and be a good company again. That's just my opinion. Obviously, I wouldn't say I'm like a big fan of Boeing. I don't know someone who's like, hell yeah, I love Boeing's products. But yeah, that's literally what was happening, Sid. And that's, you know, the benefit is I went to a Thanksgiving one year with my buddy, and this was a couple of years ago. And his dad is very high up there. I think now he might be with, can't remember who's he with now, Spirit maybe, I don't remember for sure, but he was just like, yeah. But, you know, he also has that business mentality, that kind of almost elitist mentality of just like, yeah, those guys were jerks for pointing out those flaws. Like, that was the tone. And I was like, well, like, what? No, how about you pay attention to those flaws and you make the product better. That's kind of how I think. Nike's finding a bottom. Let's go check on Nike real quick for fun. Let's see if this is going to be a real bottom here, because you do have a weekly that is negative with not a lot of divergence down here. So the opportunity here, as Nike does head lower, this is great because you might get an opportunity soon, right? Something little like that can go a long way. We'll see what happens with earnings with this bad boy. But for the most part, we want to look at what's happening right now. If the daily can curl up, then you have a chance for a little bit of positivity. The best part about This move right here, ooh, almost flat divergence. So one divergence maybe at the same time, but that's up here, so pullback most likely. We're seeing some interesting structure, right? Looks like we tried to do this, this, but we ended up cutting that short. So you do have the opportunity here to base out and turn up at some point. We should start a Black Swan pool. Yeah, we should. Should we do like a raffle ticket charity event on the channel? To place your bets on what Black Swan comes first, because they're well, the thing is, we talked about negative loop yesterday. So when something bad happens, usually things start to bad happen right in a row or in line with each other. So it all could happen at the same time. It could be like civil unrest happens, which causes banks to completely fail, which causes people to run to TLT, which causes the yields to really drop, which causes the market to crash. It's like all that lines up. It's like, holy crap. And that's not even bringing in housing market, AI stocks, fake numbers from companies like SMCI that potentially has fake numbers in other companies, right? It's like, that's all very scary. But yeah, I'd say daily for Nike. Can that turn up right now? You don't really have the best 2-hour divergence here. It's very negative. So I'd really look at this from maybe a swing trade perspective, but you have to realize, hey, I'm below the 200, right? If you've taken the swing trading course down in the description, you know, I think the using indicators course can really teach you more, and you can probably piece together swing trading from that. But if you want clear cut how to swing trade, what's the entries, exits type thing, that's going to be something like this, but you're below the 200, so you always have to treat things below the 200 with caution if you try to take those swings. The reason that we're different from people is because a lot of people would say only do it up here, only do swing trades above the 200. I'm like, no, if you see good structure here in a daily about to cross, we don't see good 2-hour structure here in a daily about to cross, but if you see good structure in the daily about to cross, it means do that. It's fine. It just means maybe I'm not going to hold this all the way up to 100. Maybe this is going to hit this zone and then turn back down. So, and then we look for weakness the other way. That's why it's great to take both of those courses. You can get them right now. Both courses, swing trading and the using technical indicators, the best one, I think, in my opinion, to really learn everything. $150 this weekend. If you got an extra $150, it can go a long way. We have people that come in and literally after the first week, they're like, my first trade made 3 times what I paid or 4 times what I paid for the course, which is exactly what I wanted from a marketing perspective. I really wanted people to be able to learn for a cheap price and be able to make that money back very quickly. Okay, let's bounce around a little bit here. NVIDIA still dipped down. Maybe we're going to get that reaction to the 5. One thing is that 30-minute is trying to curl up at this moment. So one cool thing about NVIDIA this week was, yeah, we used those monthly expected moves. We just posted new monthly expected moves for NVIDIA, but that monthly expected move coming in handy. We go down below it, right? So 4 for 4 on this signal. Fantastic signal up here. And now we're seeing a bounce. Okay, so we're bouncing. Where would we bounce to? Well, there's a very obvious breakdown area right here. Okay. Excuse me. This is a very obvious level. And this is where the bullish and bearish case comes into in handy, because you can react to that and people will say cut maybe a handle and you end up going higher. But this could just be a simple retest of this level to then flush back down. And the reason that we're mainly going to talk about this coming back down, if it does get to that level and reject, is going to be because you do not have good reversal signals down here. So in order for this to go positive, it's going to be a ton of work. So yeah, you could go a little bit higher than that. You could go fill 2 gaps maybe, right? But for the most part, it's even if you make this move, I don't think you will be positive. So at any time, this can just get by the center line, turn back down. Take a look at DJT. Excuse me. DJT hitting the key level, okay? So if you remember yesterday, what level did we point out? Well, we looked back in the past and we just said, okay, well, it would be somewhere around here was what I really liked, because there's a gap there, but the next one was down in this little zone right here. So I think this level will be pretty important. Just a little bit lower. I should have marked off the area we were looking for, because it's one of these levels. It's either this one or this one that we were paying attention to because of the resistance right there. But pretty good though. I mean, pretty good support right there. We'll see. There's not a ton of support here. You can notice there's not a like ton of support anywhere. You really think this cupping level was the area, okay, where you broke down, you come all the way up to here, you get it. But maybe you got excited, maybe you need to dip down into here a little bit to turn back up. So we'll pay attention to that. But I think you're in an area in this little zone that could be important. And I think your 2 hours telling you something here. Your 2 hours saying, hey, watch, I want to cross. So well, not really I want to cross, but I'm by the center line. So if a 2 hour is by the center line, the first thing I'm going to do for DJT is look at a 30-minute and see if there's any kind of divergence. You don't really have any. Okay, so this means maybe you get some kind of pop that drops just like that, and then I see the reversal signal here for DJT. That's what I would say. But if that 2 hour is dropping too much and we're crossing over a daily chart, that's when you say, okay, daily pullback is coming. So today and Monday, pretty damn important for DJT in my opinion. SMCI down 2.4% as of right now. Oil was interesting, right? Oil curls up on a daily scale. That could be scaling up. Now there's two sides, right? There's always two sides in some way. This could still be that right shoulder. So you want to pay attention if that fails, right? If we cross up and cross right back down. But this would say swing trade below the 200. Maybe we get that good reaction here. The daily turning up. The last time it turned up, boom. So this time it turns up maybe a little bit higher because we're above that level. You're still maintaining the low, so it's pretty decent. And one thing I was looking at last night was Bitcoin. Bitcoin did see some selling here, but the 2 hour doesn't really have reversal signals. So I think if this 2 hour is able to turn up, 4 hours able to turn up, you're going to do what? You're going to probably test that high, go make a new one. GME big pop potential. Yes, we've been calling out GME for a long time, right? Right here, we said this is pretty flaggy. Actually, down here, we said there's divergence on the daily. That looks like a good signal. Okay, now you're carving out that higher low. That's a better signal. Now, why is that better? Because the daily rotated over here, and now the daily has rotated back up. We saw that in this area that this was kind of controlled, right? So now you're coming down, trying to make almost a double bottom, just a little bit higher there, which is good. So I won't call it divergence, but if that 2 hour turns up, where is it? Close to the center line. So positivity. And the key thing about this positivity was it wasn't controlled, right? It wasn't like this. It wasn't like this cross up where you just did that, right? You saw the buying come in, then you're turning down on a 2 hour now. So you are in a 2 hour pullback. I would still say an hourly is good to watch because it is still positive, and we are remaining outside of the crazy level. So if we can close outside of this level today, I think you have a good shot of a pop coming. I mean, I know about a week ago I said I would watch this for the next couple of weeks. So technically I'll stick with that, and I think you have good potential next week, or at least I would say something in the month of November. If the market starts to behave differently here, we are going to update the crazy level for next week. We'll see if some big implied volatility comes in. You also have daily expected moves for these on Patreon. You can get all that stuff on Patreon, which is great. Can really help you out with this. Just it'll let you know every week, like, am I seeing something crazy, or is this just kind of barcoding, right? Is this controlled? Is this not? Because you don't want it to be controlled. You really want this to see that straight up buying, kind of shelf off. You want to see that straight up buying, kind of shelf off. You want to see that straight up buying, and we're kind of shelving off. Then you see that, and you notice here, we started to point more down. We started to point almost down like this. So that gets a little bit worrisome that you can do that, okay? But for the most part, it's just the 30-minute turns down. It means like, hey, the 30-minute turns down, then you're going to pull back, right? If we just look at it like any other stock. So the 30-minute turns up here, you can see positivity as well. The 30-minute is well within range of going positive. The last time the big moment happened, the 30-minute crossed up, and it never crossed back down until it was at hundreds of dollars. That goes for AMC as well. That goes for AMC as well. That needs to start to go positive. But daily scales for this look fantastic. Monthly scales look like, hey, they have potential over the next 12 to 24 months. SMCI is something that I would not touch in any way because of that problem. I have never really taken a trade with SMCI because I just don't trust a lot of AI, chip stocks, anything like that. I just don't trust them right now. So the only one I do trust is the one that Nancy Pelosi keeps buying. It's the one that a bunch of big people kept buying back in the day. They want NVIDIA to remain higher, so that's why I trade NVIDIA a little bit. Yeah, that's why I do not like touching these type of things, mainly because of this. I mean, if we just look at a weekly scale, when did that weekly curl over? Way over here. Did it ever curl up? No. We had a great flag, and it never really curled back up. And then if I do this, and I look at a monthly, and I go, okay, this monthly crossed down around this area, it's like, okay, well, even though this is extremely negative, the monthly just crossed, so this is going to get more negative. SMCI could end up back at 674 with this monthly crossover. And this is what I'm talking about. It's like, if we see these monthly crossovers, it's not a good thing. Okay. And that's why today, you might want to be looking at something like AMD, because AMD it already did it. It posted the same thing as SMCI, but it's still remaining a little bit elevated. But now you have divergence at the high, you have divergence all across these highs on the RSI, and that can really drop. That can go down to, I think you said the 200, somewhere around 112 right now, but that has the chance to go all the way down to maybe even $55, see a big reaction, and then we can get like this going on. And that would be really bad. Now, you actually don't see a lot of structure like that on a monthly scale, in my opinion. You know, for these things, usually they will just, if something bad happens, you'll just see the big drop. You'll go down towards maybe the 200. But it's saying AMD, I'm not saying AI and chips are like the worst thing ever for an investment. Just right now they are. It's right now it's saying, why would I do that? As far as an investment goes, this could end up back towards $37. And then I'd say, okay, now am I seeing basing out structure? So that's what I'd say with those. Apple did not see the best earnings, right? So one thing about Apple on earnings was the daily. If you just do this, look at all the green. Look at this red moment where, look at the red moment, and we ended up going much higher. So you have tons and tons of green, and you have 2 red, and one of those is right now. And that's a 39, almost 40% surprise. Like, that is wild. And we told you about the weekly divergences up here, just saying this is well, it's on the RSI, right? But when you see it on NVIDIA, you see it on the SPY, you see it on the Qs, that's not good. I believe it was actually on the monthly, maybe, if we'll see if that thing, yeah, we just made another point higher. So this wasn't the divergence point, this one probably is. And you're seeing that weakness come in again. So if that monthly drops for Apple, Apple could end up all the way down towards $126, like, by the end of the year, and it would make sense. But I think in 2025, that makes more sense. But you do have potential for Apple to go all the way down to the COVID lows of $53. This is what I'm saying. You're about to see probably one of the best opportunities in stocks. Now, I'm not saying it has to happen right now. I'm just saying it more likely is just, hey, I'm probably going to get an opportunity to buy stocks really, really cheap in the next, I would say, 1 to 5 years. If we go into an extended bear market, like I think we will, then that's something I'll be paying attention to. But for the most part, it's just like, okay, if do I want Apple at 222, or if there is even a slight chance, and maybe it goes down to 200 before this thing pops because of the daily. Okay, cool. I can get it at 200, but there is a chance I could get it for $50 freaking dollars. Like, I'm down with that. That sounds great. Happy positive vibes, BK. I like it. The SPY, really just seeing if this 30-minute wants to cross up. Looks like a strong bounce coming in. This most likely will convince people. And people are all trying to short today. And this is the exact opposite, right? So now we can fuel that to the upside. Like, right as volatility is really curling down on a 2-hour chart, right? Just about to, everyone starts to try to buy puts, right? It's always people in the market that are doing the opposite of what they should do at that time. And I think that's why people that come into my channel and they talk, you know, crap on us or whatever, they just don't, one, they don't watch the full video, because we always try to give both takes. And two, they are in that loop. They're in that loop of, hey, yeah, when things are going up, it's always going to go up. And that's true a lot of the time. But we're looking for the move down to find those opportunities. We're looking for the move that's going to bounce. If this 2-hour does cross down, we are likely to bounce. But there's a big problem here. And that's the fact that volatility is crossed up on the daily scale here in positive territory. And if this doesn't cross back down, you're going to see a 2-hour most likely do this, maybe even go test 20, and then turn right back up. Turn right back up. So you might only have a couple of days for this to bounce, and then you see that turn back up, right? And then we would just have, ooh, this gets down by the center line, and boom. And I want to point out, I think it was here. Yeah, here. So if you look at this massive move from volatility, what happened? We made two pretty good moves, right? These are a little spread out, but you're getting big moves, and then that curls down. This one failed. But look at this, two moves, and then you turn down, you react off of our 1683 level, and boom, to the upside. You curl up into positive territory. So if this is able to do that again, you're already elevated more than the last time volatility popped off. And I think you got a chance that you're doing this. You're coiling up. You're doing this, you're creating a big cup. Now you got a small cup that could be considered a handle there. And if this is a big handle though. So if that needs a small handle, this would look like it. And what I did here was I looked at this. I looked at from here to here with, I'm blanking on the name real quick, but why am I blanking on the name? Yeah, fib retracement, sorry about that. This here, so if you do this, there's something called a golden pocket that I like to make here, and I have a pretty tight one. A lot of people have a bigger one. They would say maybe this whole zone is the golden pocket, but this is what I pay attention to. We hit the golden pocket just barely, and then we start to loop up. So one thing I'm paying attention to here is I'm like, where is that golden pocket for this move? If we're going to see a similar retracement here, well, then if I pull this up and I look, if I can move it right, where is that landing us? Right at 20, a retest of 20. So I think if this 2 hour turns down, I think you're going to get near that golden pocket, and then that's when you have to really see, are we going to see this curl up into positive territory? Because if this is going to continue down, obviously that can curl down daily charts, but if this is going to remain curled up on a daily, and we're about to see some fireworks after this election, this is how I see it happening for volatility. So I've already taken some profit on my volatility play, leaving a couple of runners, and then I'm going to scale back in or manage this trade, right? So if this 2 hour does not curl up and the daily is able to curl down, I will be managing that trade. And thankfully I already took profit, so pretty much I have barely any risk in this now, and I can hold it. All right, let's go back over to the SPY just for a little bit. Let's click on this. Right now, we're inside the same bar as yesterday. Right, it's going to be very difficult to violate that to the upside, but we do have that daily expected move above us. We'll see if we can tag that by the end of the day. Looking for VIX to spike this afternoon. That's more going to lean towards the, maybe I need to look at the 30-minute. You need the 30-minute to kind of spike up now. But right now, everyone is trying to call the crash today, right? Everyone wants puts on the bounce because they're like, this is going to end up going lower by next week, and so I'm going to buy puts in this. But what you can do, and then what's going to end up happening is then that's going to fuel this thing, give the market maker liquidity to pump this thing higher and squeeze them, and then they're going to get out of those positions right at the wrong time. That is something that can happen today, and yeah, it happens a lot. I don't think a squeeze is like too likely. You're not seeing great signals down here. You are seeing like, I think like a bunch of 5-minute ones, rejection, you see that, but you see a bunch of little 5 minutes in here. And so you do have a chance for it. Do I want to play that though? Do I want to risk playing that game? Because if you're wrong here and this does end up turning down, well, then that can turn down just as fast as yesterday. So I'm not going to play that bounce. The thing that you should be really looking at if you're like, I really want to take a bullish trade. If you like bullish trades, you can start to trade TLT. Right, TLT coming up to a great level, getting up to here, getting a little excited. So it makes sense to really pile up here. I still think this has a good opportunity. It is crossing down on a 30-minute, so we could be in that period where it needs to dip down lower. But something key here is the daily has crossed up. So daily momentum is with you. I know you're below the 200. You got to pay attention if bigger time frames start to roll down. If that 2 hour rolls down, you can take out the low and go make a new one. But for now, if that 2 hour remains positive, that's going to be a good sign. Okay, that's going to be a good sign. But I think the 30-minute, you want this to really base out and flip back to positive, and I think TLT might actually be a decent opportunity. The reason that I'm saying that is because when I go over here and I look at these yields, okay, when I look at these yields, I see big divergences all across this, which if the yields are going to drop dramatically for some reason, most likely that's a reaction because they are scared about the economy, right? They cut the rates really, really fast to save the economy, right? We bring down the rates, and a lot of the time, bond traders do that for the Fed. But for the most part, we want to see if this 4-hour turns up, then no, the TLT most likely is going down to lower prices. But if this 4-hour remains curling down, and that just tells you, hey, this daily can curl down, and look at that daily. So you're at least in time for a little pullback here for yields, even if those will head higher. But those are some topping out signals. The daily's pretty positive though. I think a reaction all the way down to 406.62 would make sense. Or 4.062. John, thank you so much for joining today. Really appreciate you being here. Everyone, welcome John into the chat. We got a few Johns out there. The dollar, something I'm playing with here. All right, something I'm thinking about here, and then we'll get into more stock market stuff, right? First of all, little 2-hour divergence there, but we want to see this 4-hour whip back around. Okay. Now, we don't really want to see it. We just want to see what happens and then see what the market's doing in reaction. As you saw, the market and the dollar were going up like this, but the dollar just now, it gave the same topping signals. The SPY gave the topping signals, Q's did, NVIDIA gave the great one. That was the best hint we could look for. One thing to note here is this is kind of controlled. The SPY's not controlled, right? The SPY is down, okay? So that is different than what we have. Originally, it was just, hey, SPY's going up, dollar's going up. Okay, cool. Now you're seeing a little bit of a difference. So if the dollar starts to spike here and the market starts to fade that again, this move right now, that's when I'd be even more worried about a crash, actually. Even if they were going to crash, you'd assume that they would keep that positive correlation, right? The dollar comes down and the SPY comes down at the same time. That would hint that people are actually buying on the inside. But if at any time this switched to a negative correlation, that's going to get ugly, because that means that solidifies the fact that we've been paying attention to this trap for a few weeks now. Right? If you don't know, if you go back and you look at our videos, we called the bottom in the dollar right here, and then we said, oh, that's curling over. Okay, we're going to go down and make another divergence. We created those divergences. We're going to see that pop up. And then and we said that can come in with some steam. That is coming in with some steam. And this has gone up while the market has gone up, which means insiders are selling at an unprecedented rate. And now they're looking, where do I want to put my money? Do I want to put my money back into stocks? Do I want to put it into TLT? That's what I think is going on here. And the way that this can still escalate is this weekly remains crossed up. It just keeps going, and we start to do a negative correlation. Right now, you're positively correlated. But if this keeps going up and then the stock market actually starts to go down, it might flush because of that selling, that movement into cash that's happened for a long time. Okay. Now, I think a good thing for today is just to mainly be paying attention to the market here and paying attention to something like NVIDIA, okay? Because as you saw the weekly signals just now, if that crosses over, that's going to be ugly. So earnings for NVIDIA will be very important come November. If we want to leak things higher into the end of the year, you're going to need some good NVIDIA earnings. That is very, very true there. So if this can curl over and then it comes down for a little bit and then we curl back up with that NVIDIA earnings, that's what we'll be paying attention to. I think that's unlikely. I think most likely we're going to see NVIDIA actually top out soon, if not already, which if you were here a couple of days ago, actually I think it was last week, it was on the SPY. It was this day right here. This day right here, we said this could definitely be a market top. This could be some kind of top. This could be a major top. We showed those signals. This could be a regular top if the reason they're getting out of it is only TLT to go into bonds for a sec, repositioning. But this is that day, that green bar right there, October 22nd was when we called that. If you want to go check out that video, this is where we set it. It was at the end of my video, we literally talk about it. I gave my take there and I said, this really looks like a major top. And then right here is where we gave out that video in the post market, but we also put some stuff out during the day for our Patreon members and said, not necessarily in the Patreon post, we just showed some weakness from NVIDIA and said, uh-oh, watch out. And this here is saying, and we showed TLT, but this here is saying, you know, what we said in that video was tomorrow really has a risk of being the crash day. And then we had the crash day. So that's very, very good. Thank you for paying attention. I hope you find this information helpful. Please leave a like if you are finding today helpful. Now, Amazon is seeing a good upside move. That is a great upside move, okay? But we always said this. We say this all the time. It's like, okay, so the market needs to go higher. Okay, so what are they going to do? Well, they're going to use a few stocks to keep that going. They're going to use a few stocks to keep that going. So Apple saw a bad earnings, and thankfully Amazon saw a good earnings. Okay, pretty damn good. But we also read into this with the data yesterday. Now, I don't use that data to make a decision. I didn't take a play on Amazon. I'm not someone who trades earnings because I think it's a 50-50 flip every single time. If we're in a bull run and there's not a bunch of black swan, craziness happening, it's like, okay, then most likely upside. But we did read into this because yesterday we noticed that personal income was at I think it was personal income was at 0.3 and personal spending was at 0.5, and we showed the delinquency rates of credit cards during the day yesterday, and we just said, okay, so this tells us, what do most people spend their money on? Truly, I think it's Amazon. I think a lot of people spend little credit card money on Amazon all the time. So because personal spending was still higher, you would assume that people are still spending money on Amazon, especially going into this holiday season. That's the only way we could read into this. Free Indeed. Hey, Lucas, my name is Greg. Well, what up, Greg? It is nice to officially meet you there, Free Indeed. I see you every single morning, and I really appreciate you being here too. And thank you for calling my videos great. I just hope they end up being helpful. If they're helpful for just a few people, I'm happy, and I'm even happier that they turn out to be helpful for hundreds, if not thousands of people. I think that's fantastic. Now, these videos can be helpful, but a lot of the things that we give out on Patreon and stuff like that can be even more helpful. Buy me a cup of coffee every single month, and you can get some good stuff on there. But for the most part, as long as you're here, paying attention, giving your opinion, even if you think I'm wrong about something, please let me know. We like to learn on this channel. We just ask that everyone be as civil as possible, right? If someone has a difference in opinion as you, that's perfectly fine. Everyone can do whatever they want with their money. That's not what this channel is about. It's not here to tell you what to do. It's here to teach you really how to see these things for yourself, and then you can come back and bounce it off of a good group of people who are paying attention to stocks just like you are. It's not as strong. Oh, sorry. When you break down Amazon's earnings, a lot of it's coming from other big tech, not large companies, and you really break down the consumer, it's not as strong as other earnings appear. Do you do options in your paywall? Well, we teach you what I do for the simple option strategy, and we do use my fun account. We use Robinhood to teach you in the course. Okay, that would be in the Using Technical Indicators course. That's where we give you that option strategy after teaching you everything that I use to trade, right? Nothing in that course will be unuseful to you, in my opinion, right? I use every single thing I talk about in my course, and that's a big problem, I think, with a lot of people that charge $2,000 to people, is they just fill it with 40 hours worth of info that they personally probably don't even use. There's no way that you're paying attention to 40 hours worth of stuff every single day. It's just not possible, unless you're like an AI programmer that can create algorithms to pay attention to stuff for you, and you build your trading strategy. You know what I mean? So options, though, we don't put that behind it. I don't want anyone taking a play because I'm taking a play. That is not what this channel is about. It's to help you get in a position to learn that you're confident in the plays that you are looking at, and we find ways with momentum to do that. That's the key thing. But I do post trade setups. So NVIDIA was posted there, right? NVIDIA was posted there. The TLT bottom here was posted there, right? TLT bottom. We had to post this one twice. The first one didn't work out. Good thing in the course, we teach you how to manage trades. So from this point on, it should be, hey, this is close enough to the center line to go negative. So that's a little bit scary. So this could convince you to take off some contracts, and then you can turn down. You see a little 30-minute divergence on the RSI, make a decision, see that you made a 2-hour triple divergence, and that's a better reversal signal. Now, if this 2-hour reverses back down, that would probably cause another management of the trade, correct? So you really need that 30-minute to turn back up today. But the daily's really beat up. I think this has a good shot of popping absolutely off. I think TLT sees a pretty good run. When TLT does see kind of rapid runs, The last time I was really looking at, I believe it was actually 2007, 2008. So if you look in here, this is when TLT was in a similar level, $93, and then it popped up all the way to 123. That took about 2.5 months to play out. This is kind of what I'm thinking might happen here. Especially at these lows, right? I invested at 82.50 and then I manage my trade throughout. So this is where I am back in my investment at this point, and I'll manage the trade if a 2-hour crosses down for just a brief moment, but I'll probably leave some in just in case. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. It does take time to get good at it. The reason that I am so quick with it, and you probably see me click on a chart and I immediately start spewing stuff out, that's because I've done it for a very freaking long time now. And I'm pretty obsessed with it, to be honest. I'm not doing anything with DJT. I'm not doing anything with DJT unless I see some good basing out strategy, unless I see that curl up, unless I see that opportunity at this point. Humble goat? No, I'm not the greatest of all time. If I was, I would be very, very, very rich. I will never tell you that, you know, I'll let you guys know when I make a big ass chunk of money. When I hit my goal that I really want to get to with trading, I will let you guys know. I'm maybe, well, let me calculate in my head real quick how much I make per month. I'm probably, I'll be generous to myself. I'll be generous to myself and give myself a little gap. I could be, if we go into a bear market, I think I can do it in 2 to 3 years. If we kind of see a correction here and keep going higher, or we see this leak higher, or if Kamala wins, it might take me 3 to 5 to get to my goal. What trading? Okay, so the trading subscription that I use, and I've used the higher one, the one that I use right now is the first one. Just, I think it's like the essentials, the basic, like the one that's, I think it's somewhere around $17, maybe $20 a month. I can't remember. It's a cheap one because I'm a true believer that you don't need a million bells and whistles. If you go look and you see someone that has 9 indicators, how the hell do you make a decision, right? We just use the ones that are very generic, but it can give you those reasons to take a trade once you add in weekly ranges and divergence and things like that. Should I do a fun trade on DJT? Did I? So yeah, I would suggest that one, but truly you can, if you use if you understand weekly ranges, you pretty much need maybe moving averages, MACD, RSI. If you have moving averages, MACD, RSI, you can probably do everything, which I think you can have those indicators. I think you can have 3 for free. Yeah. Maurice, you can have 3 for free. So I mean, that's it too. Like, especially since I encourage practicing early on, I would just say, for the most part, since I really encourage practicing, almost like paper trading right at first, but then utilizing real money afterwards. What I would say is, while you're practicing, just don't pay anything, right? Like, why would you pay anything if you're practicing and you can pretty much do it for free? A big reason that I pay that little subscription every single month, or I think I maybe pay annually, I can't remember, but because I just let it go. I've let it go for years. The reason that I do that is mainly, and truly, this is the main reason. I hate ads, and every single time that it, like, you reload the page or something like that, an ad pops up here or here or here or here, and it bugs the crap out of me. It's just one of my things. My wife always says, she's like, you know, some things I think you're on the spectrum about. And I'm like, little things like that annoy me incredibly. So yeah, I don't like ads. I have YouTube Premium because I hate ads. But yeah, if you really want, I would say, if you want everything that I have on the chart here, all you need is the first subscription there. Don't spend a bunch of money to get, you know, especially if you're just learning, like, don't spend a ton of money. That money you could literally learn for a full year and save the $20 a month, and then you have an extra $200 maybe for like your first real option play that you can risk, right? It's like then you can kind of calculate that and put that $20 aside every single month. Now you have $240 at the end of the year for your first trade to give that practice with real money. Have you lost money trading? Oh, yes. Yes. And that's why I'm big on talking about earnings. Because earnings was one of the it was my biggest loss, and it's going to seem more percentage-wise, I guess it was my biggest loss. No, it's probably my biggest money loss. So back when I was, I thought when I first started doing technical analysis, it was a pretty bullish market. And I thought I knew everything. And so I went into an earnings. I think I just learned about divergence like way back in the day. This might even be before 2020. Yeah, I think it was before 2020. Because that's when I really started to learn about stuff. But 2020 was like right before then. I think Zillow had an earnings and it had a little 2-hour divergence, and I had played like 2 divergences and I noticed they played out really well. So I was like, oh, let me do this. I'm going to make a bunch of money right now. Let me risk 80% of my options fund. and I lost, or maybe I did 10K behind it. I can't remember back then, but I'm pretty sure I need to go look, like, if I can, maybe that's on my taxes or something, but I think I lost $6,000 to $8,000 in a matter of like minutes in the morning, right? The earnings came out and it was just like gone. And I don't think I could sell the option because nobody wanted that price anymore. So I think I just lost the full amount. So I think it was $8,000. I lost $8,000 in a matter of minutes. And from that point on, that's when I started to learn about risk management, learn at what times that things can behave weirdly. And I started to notice it's always around big data drops, right? And it's always around earnings. Earnings is even bigger. Microsoft and Meta. Yeah, well, let's go look at those real quick. Microsoft, down at these levels, it could catch a bounce, right? We catch bounces from this level all the time. But what you need to be paying attention to is the fact that, look at this line right here. That could be a neckline. This could be a left shoulder. This could be a right shoulder, or a head. This could be a right shoulder over here. And if we really want to see downside, then that daily could curl down into what? Negative territory. So we have gotten very far away from the 5. Maybe we get a reaction here as volatility subsiding a little. We'll have to double peek at that. But you notice you're just moving, you kind of have a shelf here. So if you really want to base out and go higher and at least go to retest that 5, but you notice the 30-minute is there saying, this might take a lot of work to go positive. So I'm not saying it can't be an opportunity if you're someone who mainly pays attention to levels and things like that. But for my strategy, I would like to more so see this confirmed as a strong base, because you have a big time frame turned over. If I have a daily turned over and I just take a 30-minute cross up and it turned over yesterday, which momentum's stronger, the daily momentum? Yeah, and I just have most of my stuff's just programmed in that I just like hit download the file and then that gets all submitted to do my taxes like immediately. So I have it set up for that. And then I have my little expense sheet. Now let's look at Meta. Meta, if you're saying this is an opportunity, be fucking careful. Like, I'm just going to swear, because this is a terrible signal here on the weekly scale. This hasn't confirmed yet. So I'm just saying that opportunity could be limited. Terry, I'm not saying this is like gonna burn down to the ground, but I'm like, that's a big signal, and that says, hey, this could maybe end up down towards 453.08 by the end of the year. So that's what I'm paying attention to there. AMD, there's probably, I think there's still not a lot of analysis besides the weeklies crossing over, the monthlies crossed over. The monthly crossed over yesterday for AMD, it fully confirmed. So the most likely thing to happen here is downside. You can always experience bounces. We can always experience bounces, but I just want you to notice this is almost like squeeze to the downside behavior. Maybe you make a little 15-minute, but if a monthly just crossed over, am I going to take any bullish, like really bullish trades, or am I just going to treat it like, hey, I'm trying to get, a 3% move and then be out? That's more what I'd be looking for in stocks like that, but I'm not trading AMD. I think it's a wonky stock, and it's been going down and down and down for a long time. Everyone's still bullish on semiconductors, while semiconductors are, for the most part, all the other ones have crashed down. Lee's the one who said it? Oh, sorry. Lee's the one who said it. Yeah, okay, good. That clears it up for me. Now I can actually, I thought it was your opinion. So I don't want to bash your opinion, right? I don't want to bash your opinion or something like that. I more so want to treat your opinion, if you guys have one, with respect. And I want to look at it with that type of lens. But now that I know, now I see above it says Lee, ... right? It says Lee. If Lee's the one that said it, remember what we talked about a few months ago. Okay, a few months ago, we talked about the fact that Lee is getting things eerily right. Eerily right over the past, I would say even 2 years. Like, very eerily right. And I always said the problem with that is if you build that trust in someone so much to the public, like the public builds a lot of trust in that, and then he comes out and just gives like if he was fed information to tell people these things, so he's just right, and then he comes out once and just says something else and everyone believes it, and then it was all a dupe, right? It was all a trick to help out rich people. That's something I'm very worried about. So I think if he thinks those are good opportunities, if he thinks Meta is a great opportunity at 568, I think he's high. What do I think Tesla does if Trump wins? Well, actually, if you guys didn't know that Tesla, I think it was just a week ago that Elon came out and he even said, we told our take on if Trump wins, what the market would do. And I think that he most likely to get rid of a lot of corruption will have to cause a lot of problems and most likely send into some kind of recession. But I think it will be a recession that's mostly, as long as we don't have serious civil unrest, I think it would be mostly bad for rich people, actually. I think it'll be an actual recession that mainly hits rich people, like people who have been benefiting from corruption for a long time. But even Elon Musk came out himself and said that the stock market will suffer not maybe, actually. He just said, I believe the stock market will suffer or something along those lines if Trump gets into office. And that makes total sense. And we talked about why that makes sense. You want a recession. If you want your everyday life to get cheaper, you want a recession. So work really hard at your job. Make sure your job is in some way a necessity, maybe. But that's what we try to say. You got to keep your job if you're going into a recession. But I think it will be a time where it could be actually good for the people. Also, if GME and AMC pop off, I really want to buy a school. So maybe they pop to $1,000 and I go buy a school and start to run a school how I think it should be run. I think that would be really cool. And these are some great moves. That 30-minute is going to cross up here maybe. So look at that. It's about to. We'll see if that confirms on the lagging indicator being the MACD. I still like the lagging indicator the best. I don't do 30-minute swing trades. But I will pay attention to the 30-minute in this case as the daily is turned up. See if that 2-hour can play up. What's the recession play, T-bill? Most likely it will be some form of bonds. Because recession hits, they still don't want the economy to absolutely just be like unfathomable to the individual, right? So most likely what ends up going on here is those yields have to drop way down. They're going to have to drop the yields down to help banks, but also stimulate the individual, right? Allow you to be able to, as the housing market crashes, be able to get a good rate on something to also help out banks, right? They want to stimulate regular people getting loans. I'm thinking about I should have done this earlier, but I was really looking at the Kamala $25,000 grant or whatever for a housing loan and how that would affect the prices of homes. And I started to really dig down into it and think about it. So first-time home buyers, they only have to put down 3%, right? And I'm just talking about something random here as AMC absolutely goes bonkers right now. We'll see if it can get through 470, see if GME can curl up because it's already in somewhere crazy. Which Roaring Kitties emojis make total sense. I was talking about this with my friend. I was like, what if the whole time everyone's reading into it because they want the move to happen faster, but the whole time it was American flag announcement, boom, cheers, because it meant American flag meant election. The announcement meant who gets president. If Trump gets president, maybe this thing pops off. If Kamala becomes president, then I don't think it does, but I think it's going to take more time. Fun trade, yay! But yeah, I was looking into that, and first-time homebuyers, I'm pretty sure FHA, you only have to put down 3%, right? So 3% for first-time homebuyers, and that loan, that grant loan, whatever it is for first-time homebuyers. So that wouldn't mean that each price of the home would go up by $25,000. That's what you would think initially. As I think about it more, it actually means that the average 3% payment on a home would be $25,000. That's crazy if you think of it that way. That's like the worst case scenario, I think, for that, if she would get in and implement that at least the average home would cost for 3%. I'd say 3 to 5%, right? Would be a $25,000 payment for the down payment. If you really think about it, that makes sense. And that's exactly what happened with, not necessarily the same with college, but the same with college. When my brother went, I think he paid, we went to the same college, I think per year he paid like $3,000 less than me. It was like a crazy like 30% increase or something per year. So just something I was looking into. I should try to cover some of that stuff. All right, so the 2 hour is able to cross down here. So this tells us that we might have bought ourselves some positivity for a bit. All right, and this is where I'm really, if that 2 hour crosses down, I might take the rest of my profit there. We'll see. And TLT, we just got to see if that 2 hour is going to whip back down. Maybe the yield will give us a hint by crossing up first. Yeah, Exxon, a little confused there. Let's go look at this guy. Exxon really wanting to curl up there, kind of flat divergences, but I mean, what I would say is the clearest way, right? I like to think the simple way. The simple way for this to go higher is the swing trade signals all confirm. You don't necessarily have daily swing trade signals fully confirming there, right? You need those to fully confirm, or at least see two of them, right? But that's earnings just came out, so you need to get through that wild part for a little bit. I mean, what you'd more so do as well is just see like, hey, is oil performing in some way? Maybe that could affect it, and oil's kind of fading that move right now, but if that daily crossed up, you might see something. I want to think very simply if I can, right? Since something is confusing, it's like, okay, that's an elongated 2 hour divergence, very flat, and you had earnings. So that means, hey, let me wait for a bigger signal, in my opinion. And the thing is, yeah, TLT, you would say this kind of sucks right now, right? You'd say, oh, this thing kind of sucks. But you also say the 2 hours in cross down, the 30-minute has. So the 30 minutes probably going negative here. So that could be enough to get out of a trade, right? Yeah, it's not negative yet. But for the most part, you just want to say, hey, if that 2 hour crosses down, I'm out of the trade, right? It's just being a regular trader, making sure you manage risk in some part, taking out longer options so it doesn't really affect the price. You're not losing 50, 60, 70%, right? If you only take a week out, this can be very bad for you, right? But since this is a 2 hour signal, I like to take a month out with that. Well, a lot of people buy at that 5th point down, but yeah, I mean, there's always an argument for both sides. I get it, right? I'll be managing if this thing crosses over because most likely that's heading lower. But usually after the 5 move down, right? There's 3 point moves, there's 5 point moves for the most part. But yeah, I would definitely agree with your argument. If this 2 hour were to cross down, then I would say, yeah, you can't be in this for the time being. You know what I mean, Jackman? So I kind of agree with you. I just need a little bit more time to fully agree. That dude, Chris? Remember when I was like, I don't know if Chris is a dude. I don't know if Chris is a dude. And then it was like, oh, I just need to, I need to read. What were you mentioning? QQQ, if you want to go over to the QQQ, we're just looking for retests at this moment, and then we'll see if this 2 hour can whip back up. That's a little bit stronger, right? That could be a bigger move. Right now, you're just getting a 30-minute cross up with no real basing out signals, but it is a strong move. You could just get a little retest here and reject right now. Right? This is why I don't draw multiple things. I just draw the trend line that seems to be the most important, right? You might run into people that have a trend here, a trend that probably goes from the lows down here all the way to this point. I'm like, no, let me just find the one that's the most important. And I think this one's the most important right here. We do have the opportunity to maybe even go fill that gap if we keep seeing craziness, because volatility is just now curling. What is it? Volatility is just now curling down on a 2-hour if that completes. What's AMD expected low? AMD expected low? That's over on Patreon. So we do have the daily expected move for AMD over on Patreon, and we have updated monthly expected moves for AMD. And I can tell you this about the monthly expected moves, because I was calculating them last night. I put them out last night. I think I had to update one. So make sure you have the right levels for GME, because I accidentally put the daily expected move on that or something. For the monthly, I already edited it, so you should have the right levels. Shoot, of course I forget my freaking train of thought because I read Lil AR-15. Not your fault, mine, my ADHD's fault. Someone's got to get me on what I was talking about. Not your fault, definitely mine. The market's been so much fun lately. There's so much to watch that I'm just way too in it. Oh, daily expected move as well. Oh, that's it. The funny thing, thank you, Pokerick. That was enough to remind me. The funny thing about monthly expected moves, which I need to update these for the SPY and the Qs, okay? We'll give you these on Saturday. I'll update them for Saturday because they're not going to be too important right now. We don't have time. We're not going to go to a monthly expected move today. But the monthly expected moves, okay? A lot of stocks have seen that grow dramatically. So I would expect some volatility in November, right? Those have spread out significantly for almost every single stock, I think, except for Tesla. Tesla's actually shrunk, which is weird. Tesla always has like a 70% monthly expected move. As far as 70%, I mean 70% implied volatility. And the monthly expected implied volatility, or not expected, but the implied volatility for Tesla going into November is like 50% now, which is very interesting because Tesla is one of the only ones that its expected move actually shrunk for next month, for this month. The 10-year is raising. That makes a little bit of sense, okay? That makes a little bit of sense because of this. Now, if you don't think this data is fishy, then I don't know how you don't think this data is fishy. But this is non-farm payroll. This is non-farm payrolls coming in at 12K. Like, is this a typing error? Like, what the heck happened here? Because 12K, it's kind of a interesting thing, right? It's kind of interesting, and I think that's why yields are kind of being weird. I think that's why TLT is being weird here, is because of this piece of data. We all know that's gonna get revised. So it seems like a fake number to me. Seems like a very fake number. I'm gonna write that down somewhere. Let me see my book. I have my pen. Where's my pen? Because I want to write that down. I really want to pay attention to that. Because that is the fishiest number I've ever seen in any piece of data for what we've been seeing. Yeah, there it is. Okay, what is the date today? 11/1. Okay, this needs to be starred. Check next. NFP for revision. Okay, let's write a note here. Fishy numbers only 12K. Okay, let's put our little stopper in there. All right, I just want to write that down because we've seen some very funky data that keeps getting revised like crazy. All right, and thank you guys for joining today. Really appreciate you guys liking today's stream. If you need those daily expected moves, please ask at any time, and we will give you the monthly expected moves for the SPY and the Qs. And we'll give you IWM. Do I give IWM? I can't remember. Oh, I don't give monthlies for IWM and DIA. If you ask nice enough, I'll probably end up telling you eventually, though. You know how I am with those. And the indices, I'm like, everyone needs those. So as long as you keep being nice in the chat, maybe after a week, I'll just let you know. Usually I'm like, if we go towards one of those in the indices, usually I'll definitely tell you, right? If it's a very important signal, then I'll tell you about it. But if you want to play those signals, you probably got to take the course to see what I'm paying attention to, or see if, your trade strategy, you can figure out how to use those weekly ranges with your strategy or monthly ranges. But ours has just worked 4 for 4, so we really like that. NVIDIA, 3% move. Let's check on the daily for NVIDIA, though. All right, NVIDIA is just about to hit the daily expected move for NVIDIA. You're not there yet, so if you want that exact level, you're going to need to join that Patreon. There's plenty of helpful stuff in there. I'm sure you can utilize something. All right, we're at the point now where, well, you would say very, very, very important levels. So this is where we have to see, are we going to handle here, or are we going to like get excited, get to a sell zone, and then fall down by the end of the day? That's something that I'll be looking at. Qs, you can see that key level coming in at the same time, right? We're getting a retest right as the SPY needs to maybe build that tiny bit of structure on like a 5-minute or something like that to go higher. Usually it needs to consolidate to cross through those type of resistances, in my opinion. You're 30 minutes behind. Jay pays the bills. Keep grinding, Lucas. I like it, Laws. Yeah. And thank you for catching up. IWM, let's go check on that, because this one could be interesting. I wonder if GME, AMC affect this in some way. See if that 2-hour can curl up. That would be a higher low. At this point, you actually have potential for IWM to have the double bottom. And the one thing that I know that we mentioned when Tom Lee did come out and say, oh, IWM can skyrocket by 20 whatever, was what we mainly said was, well, that would make sense if like GME and AMC absolutely popped off and they actually got rid of all the short selling and they disrupted the derivatives market too, and you'll see billions and billions of dollars pump into AMC and GME. And that's not going to be retail's fault, guys. Just so you're clear, the billions and billions of dollars will most likely be coming from these short sellers, big hedge funds. It is, the media is going to tell you, they're going to tell you it's retail pumping that thing up. But if it happens, it's most likely because of the short sellers. See. Good moves. Any stock can reach any number at any day. Yes, there's always a probability that something can happen. I remember someone, I think last week, asked me if this like 30-point move in some stock worth, I think $150 could happen or something like that. I don't know if it's 30 points. I think it was like 10 points. So it'd be like a 7% move in a day. And I always say, well, yeah, if you ask me if something's possible, I'm going to say yes. If you ask me if something's probable, then I'm assuming you're asking if it has a higher probability than, say, 50%. Okay, but if anything can have a probability, right? So I think at that moment I answered back and I said, yes, it can. It has probably has a 0.0001% chance of going up or down 7%. Yeah, AMD just doesn't have good structure. You've curled over on a monthly chart, so you can experience a bounce maybe going into the beginning of this month, right? Maybe you see a bounce, but you could also not experience a bounce. You have divergence here. This is a major signal. Major signal. So this is a major signal saying, uh-oh, we have monthly weakness. So even if we experience those bounces, right? If you look at a monthly chart, you see thick bars. So there's obviously bounces happening in those, right? There's bounces happening in these. But is that bounce just going to lead to more downside? The monthly is suggesting yes. Thank you for all the info, and please press the like button. I appreciate that. Appreciate that, Anand. But yeah, so will I be touching AMD in any kind of trade? Not unless I'm seeing a great signal. I'll say that. If I'm seeing a great signal outside of a weekly move, yeah, I might even take an upside play on that. But I tell you right now, I'm not going to be asking for reversal with those unless I see a golden setup, right? And that's in the course too. But for the most part, it's like, if I see a setup right now with AMD to the upside, yeah, I can take it, but I'm not going to treat it like, oh, this thing's going to a new all-time high, right? The monthly just crossed. If anything, I'd say, okay, that's going to go up towards 169.58 or 160.83. And I think 160.83 is probably the more probable thing, right? Some kind of breakout, you know. But the 2-hour curls up, you always got a chance. You got one little divergence. Actually, no, you don't really have it anymore. You got rid of it on this bar. We'll see if that's in 52 minutes. Well, you know, and this is where you have to say, right? The market will bounce at times. We're experiencing a bounce. That 2-hour for volatility is trying to cross down. So we could experience a couple days of positivity, and then I'd be watching out for November 5th. It really looks like something might happen with this election or whoever gets elected that could prove to be a big moment. Dell is a roller coaster. Did this have... Didn't even have earnings yet. Dell trying to cross up on a daily could be a good sign. Watch out for divergence then, right? You kind of already have those divergences set. And literally the way the market looks right now, I'd still be weary. This is what I'm saying. It's like, is this like the most opportunistic time, the safest time to take upside plays? Or is the safer time to take upside plays when monthlies have really crossed up? Let's see this. I'm sure this monthly, yeah, so it's like, are upside plays really safe here on the MACD? Or upside plays more safe somewhere in these bars? Well, you'd probably say somewhere in those bars. You know what I mean? So I don't think any upside move is safe right now if it looks like this on a monthly chart. SPY, I don't think any upside play is safe. You have to know how to manage risk. That's why every single time we say the bullish thing right now in our videos, what are you noticing I follow it up with? You got to know how to manage risk because we have some big signals that if they turn over, it's done, right? That trade can go really wrong. What did Jackal say? Jackal says a lot of good stuff. I call this a trap day going into next week. I think you have the opportunity for them to, as far as the psychology side goes, people just went through a lot of hell yesterday, right, with that selling. So I think at this point you could say, well, if they really want to, they might want to get that complacency back. I think you had complacency going into here. We saw the signals. It happened. We put out the video saying it was going to happen, and you got a massive gap down. We used NVIDIA for that. So for what we're going through now, I think they want to cause complacency again. That's what I think. But I wouldn't ever disagree with that statement with the environment we're in. Yeah, DJT falling off. One thing you got going on for you here with DJT is the 15-minute. If it drops a little lower, you will have, and you turn back up just a little bit lower. Maybe if you cross over for, say, an hour, you get down towards 29.50. Let's look for a point here. Yeah, 29.80, 29.50. If you can get down there, create another little point of divergence. You have triple divergence for the 15, which can roll up a 30, like stronger at that point. And the reason I want it to come down a little bit is because then I might have a little 30-minute divergence there as well. And then we can start to talk about, hey, that 2-hour might cross up. It's a little bit less likely with that kind of look. You'd really like that divergence to be up here by that center line, but it still has a chance there. As far as it goes for trap behavior, you aren't seeing both sides of it. You actually see the dollar going higher, suggesting, yes, this could be a trap because the dollar and the market have been correlated positively, right? Positive correlation going on there. You have the VIX dropping down on a 2-hour, right? Trying to cross right now. So I think you have an extension maybe possible here, but I think a trap is forming. SPY bull trap pop and drop. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I don't know if that would happen today. I think they want people to be pretty complacent over the weekend, pretty complacent on Monday, and then Trump's elected president or something like that, and boom, stuff starts to turn down. Or maybe it's whoever's elected president, boom, things start to happen. So, or maybe a black swan event happens on election day, because that's the timing. The timing looks kind of like that. Yeah, interesting. Kamal smells. I don't know what she smells like. Probably some booze. Because I know me, I'd be stressing right now if I was her. Everything they talk crap on, he turns into a meme. And it humanizes him even more, so. Someone was funny. It was like some person who was critical about Trump and Russia. It was just false, but when someone was just critical about Trump and Russia, they had a drink with someone and they said, "Oh, I want straight vodka," and then this commentator was just like, "Wow, that's very Russian of you." I just think that's funny. Cheese? No, that's my wife. She loves cheese. Oh man, that girl. Sometimes I'll go up there and I'll be like, "Did you just have some charcuterie board or something? Because your breath smells like cheese again." Good stuff. It is Friday, guys, so we will be hopping off in about 25 minutes. I will be posting stuff I see throughout the day to Patreon if you want to join, but at the same time, we won't have a YouTube video tonight. We will have a video tomorrow morning. We usually do go over if we're seeing some things in the news that could affect the market. That we did that once in the past. In the past month, we've done that one time where we talked about mainly the news going on, and it was good we were paying attention to it, because then literally by that Tuesday, everyone was talking about it. And we go over the bigger time frames. So we'll look at some levels that we could go to, some things we could gravitate to over the next year. Could drop down $1 here. One thing I just want to pay attention to, that is a solid drop and you're reacting up towards the 5. I really want to see if this 5-minute curls down. Look, it's positive. I know it's a 5-minute, but if that thing can curl back up, that means potentially that this is a cup with a handle. Okay, the Qs, look how it's cupping all the way up to the retest and a handle. And it's a pretty perfect cup on this 5-minute. That's why I want to pay attention, and the 5-minute's pretty positive for the MACD. This is where I'm saying I think they're going to maybe cause people to be complacent by shooting the market higher for a couple of days. But do I think we go to a new all-time high now? No. I think the damage has been done. I don't think that's really too possible. If the signals start to prove to be more possible, we'll let you know. Yes, laws, but you can still pay attention though, right? If bigger time frames start to confirm back down, 30 minutes start to roll back down, doesn't make a divergence, then it's starting to add up to more. And if those weeklies cross flush, right? We already saw the first flush. I just think gap fill coming up to this area still could be possible. Big week next week. Yeah, indices curling down. We're just seeing if that's a 5-minute little pullback. The 30-minute just crossed. It could just be, though, like we said. And this is where it's good, maybe to look at TLT. If TLT does enough here, or not TLT, sorry, VIX. If the volatility turns up on a 30-minute, where is that? That is positive, okay? So if that 30-minute turns up, it might mean, ooh, we got a little problem going on there. Is Apple toast? I think in order for Apple to be toast, this is the toast indication. Monthly crossover, and I know that takes a long time. You want the shorter term, but for now, the daily crossover, we said this is potential to be multiple point divergence all across this. That curled down. It's still by positive territory. We could still go get a retest of some levels, and this could be a reverse hammer in some way. But as you did react up, and then you reject right back down, it's not a good look, right? There's no reversal signals in here at all. Not even on a 15-minute. You don't have much. So that's a worrisome sign. If Apple's going to fall, Who has to keep up Apple? Who can compete with Apple to keep things afloat? Well, NVIDIA. So as Apple sees a bad day, NVIDIA sees a good day, right? And more so, if Apple's going to continue to see bad days, then NVIDIA might see another good day, and then both of them go down. When Apple and NVIDIA go down at the same time, that's when I'd really be worried. But yeah, I don't think anything can, unless it's rigged money moves, right? I don't think anything can really help Apple out. Obviously, you can experience a bounce at any time, but you know, we are lower than this point, and this was pretty not the best, right? We did still get the okay structure flag up, tried to flag, didn't work out. So more so just looking at this from the bigger perspective and saying, ooh, it's not looking good. Yes, Corey. And we mentioned this a little bit in one of our YouTube videos, and this isn't, and I made it very clear. It's like people on TV have mentioned this. People very intelligent. Who's that? He looks like he almost looks like Vivek Ramaswamy, but there's I don't know if he's Indian or what, but he's big in the tech world. I can't remember his name right now, but he's one of the guys that was really pushing and saying, I would be very careful with NVIDIA. They are doing some fishy things with their revenues to make it look like they're making all this money, but really it's just like trade back and forth with Microsoft and other companies, but they're reporting it as true revenue from clients. And so the way he worded it, I was like, oh, that's really fishy. And then SMCI, this problem comes out. So I think you have potential. I think SMCI was one of the first times that you've seen got to see the actual corruption get exposed. That's what I think. NVIDIA accounting credit. Holding back half your stock is a safer place. Possibly AMs, by the way. Okay, good. Uniworld's kind of backing me up on that. But I just saw that. I look into it for a second. I see other people talking about it, and I go, okay, so the problem that this firm had with SMCI seems related to accounting with earnings. So the problem with NVIDIA that someone smarter than me has brought up is potential fraud in accounting for the earnings, fake revenues. They're manipulating it so it's quote unquote real revenue, but sorry, the word real comes from the word reality, and that's not reality, right? So you'd be like, oh, here's my earnings. Is it really your earnings? No, because the word really comes from the word reality. And in reality, they can sit there and trade back and forth to make fake numbers. That's fine, right? Super awesome, but I would not expect these auditing firms to. I would not expect these auditing firms to sign their name on things like that. And I think it was very diligent of this company to do that. So sketchy times. Now, someone did mention this. Okay, AMs, yeah, still mentioning this, looking at the market, right? We still want to pay attention to that. I think this is good. We'll watch this and see if this is going to play out. Let's look at the measured move here, right? We'll take this low because I don't really want to get the spike down. But we'll take this low. We'll go all the way up to here, right? Pretty perfect there. I know it's not straight. There you go. Okay, so what we could be doing here is ending up getting a retest. If we look how this thing has been heading up, we could end up going all the way up higher, getting a retest. Now, what would happen here if that's a retest and fails? This is why I'm saying they might want to cause complacency over the next few days. Maybe even next week. Maybe we bounce into next week, right? Maybe we go like this for a few days. But that retest level is very important because it goes, oh, swing traders would like this, right? You're getting above all the moving averages. You're taking back the 5. You're taking back the 9. Looks good to the upside. We're going to go up to 600. Everyone's going to be on 600. And we still could. We very well could if this crosses up. If that crosses up, yeah. But I'm more leaning towards, okay, everyone's going to get complacent, say this is going all-time highs, then the black swan hits. And that's why I think it's like, as I'm saying, it's like, okay, from 577 to, from right here to, say, 600, if we would get there, it's what percentage? Let's say about 4.64%. With this type of break, if you curl over a weekly chart, and I'll put the monthly, let me look at a monthly expected move just so I can see. The SPY. Okay, so from there, how far down from, like, say, a retest could we go, actually, if that's some kind of trap? Well, you technically could probably see something like that happen to the downside, somewhere in this zone, right? Somewhere in our zone down here. So it's like, that's pretty risky, and this type of move would definitely confirm those weeklies, if not confirm the monthly as well, saying that even if you get bounces, downside potential is there. So that's where you got to be like, is the reward big enough? Because if you're waiting for good signals, that would be here, all the way up to 600. From that point, you're looking at what, 3%? Let's say right here for Monday, 2.72%. If that's a failure here and rejects, you're looking at maybe a 8 to 9% drop. And then that's where we'll start to think. We'll start to look at the signals and be like, is this a correction or is this not? Hey, Mark. If you're talking to me, my name is Luke, but I do talk to Mark a lot in the chat, so you might see that sometimes, huh? I don't know exactly if they're done, right? I'm going to tell you straight up. No one knows if they're done. We're just paying attention to the signals at this moment. If a 30-minute crosses back down, probably done. If this 5-minute can catch some ground here for a while, right? You want it to build, and then curl back up. We get by that center line and curl back up today. Hey, you can see an upward move. But if we make that move really, really fast, that could just be a trap going into... Did I just delete something? That could be a trap going into the weekend. So we'll see. No, it's no big deal, Angel. Really low lately for the SPY volume. Actually, very interesting would be, what was the volume on the drop, though? That would be interesting. See the volume on the drop? If you could see that, spiked up a little bit more than we've been getting lately. Like, what's the last time we were at this level? The last time we were at this level was this drop, this pop, this drop. We haven't seen this type of volume from this type of bar right here in about a month. Which one's stronger since 30-minute goes up, but daily still down? Daily is still down. You have to take that into consideration, and you would say, well, if the 30-minute is going to continue in the upward direction, right? Think of it more just logically. Don't try to, dig into it too far, but just be like, okay, if the 30-minute is still going to remain going in this direction, then the 15-minute cannot start going in that direction. It's impossible. It's impossible unless you're seeing squeezes, but that would be up in these type of levels, right? That would be way up here. It wouldn't be at a bottom, right? So if you're seeing that 30-minute coming down, if you're going to see that cross, well, a 15-minute has to cross down first, right? If that 15-minute crosses, you could go down, make a divergence. Maybe that's more likely. But if the 15-minute crosses, there's no way for the 30-minute to head in the upward direction. What we're looking for here is everything is reacting to, it seems like, a key level. Is this a little 5-minute cup and handle to take back this 5? That's what I'm paying attention to right now. I'm seeing, hey, can this come down like this, then curl back up? Because that would say, hey, positivity, fill a gap, trap people here, and maybe it turns down. Or we might start curling up bigger time frames like a 2-hour. We curl up a 2-hour. It's close enough to be positive where, like, testing the high, making a new one would make sense, but would it make fantastic sense? No, what would make more sense is we're reacting to a key level somewhere in this bundle. Get that handle. People think it's going to all-time highs. Then we just see that curl back down. I think it might even be quicker than that. I think you really got to watch this 30-minute move go like this, and if that gets by the center line and crosses, you're someone who knows, even though this is taking back the 5, is momentum positive? Well, we'll see if it can do that, but for now, I think little 5-minute signals are very good to watch to see if things will play out to the upside. Because if this 5 minutes starts to go negative, you look at a 15 that crosses, you go, okay, there's no way this 30 minutes going up anymore, right? Just thinking of it as logically as possible. Yeah. Let me go use the restroom real quick, guys, and I will try to stay on for a little bit longer, okay? See if this type of stuff starts to play out. But let me go use the restroom real quick, and I will be right back. 2 seconds. Like the channel while I'm gone. You know what I mean? Like the video. I'm gonna have to make a be right back sign, you know, so you guys know if I'm like coming back. All right, here we go. So good stuff. Just want to see if this 5 minute can go positive again. And thank you for liking. Appreciate it, YS. Sister. We got to see like a ton of family yesterday for Halloween, and Ari loves the dogs. So my daughter loves the dogs. So she was a dog she was a Dalmatian. And just watching her crawl around with a tail is hilarious. yeah, so we just want to see if this is kind of playing out. I'll sit here for a little bit longer because it looks like we're trying. We'd like to dip down lower than this. Yeah, we'd like to dip down lower than this, I think. Maybe you don't, but I think 572.50 would be a better pull down. Let's see Qs. No, that'd be too deep. Okay, if we can keep bouncing off of 487.60, that'd be pretty decent. Well, let's see if DJT's developed anything. That's the thing. Like, I'm still waiting to see if this is like, 15-minute divergence. Is this being created? Looks possible here. If the 15-minute turns back up, that can curl up a 30-minute. 30-minute, what's it showing? Well, it's showing a blip here, giving you a little 30-minute divergence, and it's slightly significant. Stuff away. 10-year at 434. Is pumping. See if that 4-hour can fully cross. Wow, we're gonna actually hit that 4.362. That was a level from way back that we were paying attention to. Way back. So I just have to watch this for my investment. 2-year, that crosses in a moment. We're probably heading a little low, but we could make another point of divergence too. So I'm like, we'll see. I'll probably take some off, leave some for my investment. That is not done. I've done option trades with TLT. They're actually pretty good. DJT's really dropped off, and that's the thing. Like, the 2-hour is down by that center line. We see little 30 minutes in here. If that can cross up, okay. But if it doesn't, we don't see any positivity here. It's just like a flag, or keeps dropping, or reject off the 5. There's plenty you can do, but that's where you manage risk. But for the same point there, it's like, if this is going to base out, you need these things to confirm up. You need that 15-minute to roll up to have a shot. And then you could say, okay, 2 hours got a shot to curl up. If the 2-hour curls up, though, you're right by the center line. That's why you really want it to happen now. If it keeps going down, it becomes less likely to go positive, right? SPY 30-minute cross. Well, it's also Friday, though, Tom. So on Friday, it makes a little bit of sense. But I would say there's definitely a short seller problem in DJT. There is. I mean, if they were shorting Bill Gates was shorting the crap out of Tesla back in the day, right? And asking for Elon to work with him. And he's like, are you shorting Tesla still? Yes. Okay, then why would I ever work for you? Then he posted that picture of what a pregnant man looks like, and it was Bill Gates. And I was like, damn, Elon Musk is crazy. That is some crazy stuff to post. But more just like, well, whoever they dislike, right? That's what's shitty, is whoever these big people dislike, they can mess with the stock, right? They just, for some reason, disliked AMC and GME because it's not something they wanted to, right? It's almost like they pick it kind of random and say, we're going to pump these over the next 10 years. It depends on if stocks are crashing down while that happens. Do they dedicate that money to fighting the stock? Do they still believe they can fight the stock? Or are they dedicating that money because they have to pay for the problem and they're going to feed the fire? So once it does hit $20, you'll see, if it hits $20, you'll see, are stocks coming down and the stock is getting fought, or are stocks coming down and the stock is going to go higher? That's very key there. On Webull, it's probably giving you maybe an expected move. If you're using expected moves from Webull, they're not the most correct, is how I will put it. My levels are different. I do the calculation Most days I do the calculation 1 hour after close. And that's like the perfect time. So if we'll teach you that. You learn that in the course too. You learn how to make your own weekly ranges, so you can make a range for any stock that you want. You can make a range. It's a little bit of a less accurate way, but you can use, we use the fun account to show you how to do it on Robinhood. You can do it on any platform. And we show you how to do it during that because I know I don't give out ranges for every single stock in the stock market. That would be rough. Be careful doing that type of stuff with penny stocks and things like that, right? Don't try to use it to get rich quick, right? Do it with a stock that you trust. Check the Dow. Yeah, we can check the Dow. DIA, very interesting here with the, I think it was no, maybe it wasn't. What did I see yesterday? Was it 15? When you have a rejection divergence, that can start to flip around the hourly. You see that turning up, the hourly giving a divergence on the MACD, not the RSI at the same time. So that's going to be key here. This has a high likelihood to be a bounce, but not necessarily a reversal. Okay, higher probability to just be a bounce. Where would you bounce to? 426.80, is that what that is? We'll hold this level. 427, we'll say 427. That looks like the likely area to test. If you can retake that, you might see some good things. The other part to the AMC thing is if Trump gets in, okay? Because if Trump gets in, well then he's not going to be allowing people to do a lot of the corruption that's happening across the board, and we know there's insider buying that they just do not look at. We know that there's naked short selling, which is illegal, right? You have to own the shares in order to sell them. Short sell them. So you have to take that into consideration as well, and maybe it's all hanging by a thread and saying, hey, if Donald Trump, Donald Trump, if he wins, maybe that's enough to tell them, oh crap, we gotta get out of all this stuff as fast as possible. Let's buy AMC while it's $4 so that we can make some money back, right? And then you see the banking problems at the same time. It's all tied together, by the way. Bank of America tied into, what is it, Credit Suisse, I think. Bank of America tied in with Credit Suisse, tied in with BlackRock. All those three line up together. They're all in the problem of AMC, GME. And then you have GME, and then you have Citadel over for AMC and GME, I think. I gotta double check. Yeah, it's just, reality is what do they say? What is it? What's the saying about truth being painful? It's like lies make you feel all good and fluffy, but the truth hurts, right? Truth hurts. I would like another little dip down. A little ABC pattern here would be nice. And then we head higher. This is kind of, if this makes another little move down, people go to the put side, people are already pretty much there. They've been there almost all day. And this comes down like this and then curls back up. That would mean a great trap setup for something like 580. So I'm chilling, seeing if that plays out. All right, 10:10. Need to go get my haircut. And volatility curled up for a second here. Did that actually? Well, that's on a 5. Curls up on a 30-minute. We got to be weary. Oh, it didn't confirm down on the 2-hour. Very interesting. 15 seconds left in that. We'll see if this crosses on this. This next 2 hours is very important for volatility. I still think it wants to gear up for the next move. Monday, you see Tuesday. That would line up pretty well if we just shot down. But we're just watching. Reality sucks. That's why they say. That's why we play video games. Which is actually funny because reality is so interesting now. Like, so interesting these days. All right, guys, sorry to do it, but I do have to hop off. I think we've mentioned some good stuff today. I'm glad we were paying attention for this drop. And we're going to leave. God, it's hard on a 5-minute to get those daily expected moves up. I think we might be cup and handling here for a trap to the upside. We'll pay attention to that. But if the if volatility starts to turn up on a 30-minute, don't take it lightly. The weekend is a crazy thing. They use the weekend to distribute bad news a lot of the time. That's why sometimes you'll even see they'll release data after hours on a Friday. So for the most part, though, I think we got some good learning here. I think we got the potential yesterday to say, hey, a bounce can happen. We're down towards that weekly expected move, blah, 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 right? Good stuff. But thank you guys so much for joining today. Really appreciate it. I hope you guys had a great Halloween. I hope you have a great weekend. If you want to tune in tomorrow morning, we'll give you those monthly expected moves for the SPY and the Qs tomorrow morning. And we're going to talk about the big picture because AMD is confirming that big signal, and I think people need to pay attention to it. So I want to get that to as many people as possible so they know that that is showing major weakness. So just know that I really do appreciate, because I appreciate you guys liking these videos, because the goal here is to be helpful. And it seems like that is where we are trending up positively in, right? We are really trending up in that indice, if you will. And I think we're helping a bunch of people out, and that's just the plain, simple goal of this channel. So thank you guys so much for watching today. Thank you for joining me. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace. And thank you guys for liking. Appreciate you, Tom. And Muth Trade. Moo the trade. All right, close enough. All right, see you guys.